Hi everyone, welcome back to our English class. Today is our second meeting and we're gonna learn about relative clause. I will talking about what is the function of relative clause and what types are there in relative clause. So relative clause adds information about the person or thing that you are talking about. Relative clause can be used when you were speaking and when you were writing in your essay, and relative clause usually starts with relative pronouns such as who, which, that, and whose. So, who is used for people, which is used to describe things, that is used to revert to people or things, and whose is used where a possessive is needed. There are two types of relative clause. The first one is defining. Defining is used to give essential information, important information. So it means that without defining relative clause, your sentences will not make sense. So if it is non-defining relative clause, it is only used to give extra information. So without non-defining relative clause, the sentence still makes sense. This is the difference between defining or non-defining clause. So defining, as I said before, is to give essential information about someone or something, and this information needed in order to make the reader understand about what or who is being referred to. So defining relative clause usually comes immediately after the noun. So these are the example. They are the people who want to buy our house. Here are some cells which have been affected. They should give the money to somebody who they think needs the treatment most. Non-defining relative clause is in the opposite. It gives extra information about the person or thing. It is not necessary information. This needs to be emphasized. So if you do not use this non-defining relative clause, your sentence is still okay, is still fine, it still makes sense, because we do not need to understand about who or what is being referred to. So, for example, Claire is doing the London Marathon this year. This is totally fine. But if you need to give extra information about who Claire is, you can use non-defining relative clause. But without non-defining relative clause, it's still totally fine. Doctors use the testing kit for regular screening for lung and stomach cancers, which account for 70% of cancer treated in the Western world. So without information which account for 70% of cancer treated in the Western world, this sentence is totally fine and already tell everything. Alice, who has worked in Brussels and London ever since leaving Edinburgh, will be starting a teaching course in the autumn. So if you erase or delete or omit the non-defining relative clause, this sentence is still totally fine. Alice will be starting a teaching course in the autumn. But if you need to give extra information about who Alice was, you can use who has worked in Brussels and London ever since leaving Edinburgh. So this relative clause is not really difficult topic or really difficult materials, because I'm sure in your daily life, within spoken and written text, you already expose with this relative clause. So I hope this explanation can help you to have better understanding about relative clause. Thank you for paying attention to this video, and see you in the next material.